If he's really the nice guy you say he is, he's really intelligent, really good looking, really, well, anybody would want to marry him. And that's what's wrong in the secular society. You always look for the one person that everybody would want to marry. Captain of the football team. Yeah, well, everybody wants to marry him. So why should it be you?
So, first of all, just to introduce myself, I'm Yossi Friedman, and I'm going to be calling Rabbi Friedman Tati. He's my father. He is the grandfather of my children, and thank God some of them are married.
Very nicely.
See, it's a law, I think. And I have Kinahara, 2 married children, and I have other children who are looking to be that way, to get married, Emir Hashem and Amazal Digasha. And so this is a very important topic for me as well, and for my children, hopefully. And so I am very, very interested to know what we're talking about, what the answers to some of the things that we are going to discuss today. Like, for example, in today's world, children are not as innocent as they used to be. But nevertheless, dating is supposedly between a young man and a young woman who really don't know what this kind of relationship is supposed to be. And yet they come home and we say to them, no, so was it, how was it? And very often their answer is, I don't know. What was it supposed to be? How do we expect them to know if they're attracted, what are we expecting them to feel?
Very, very common and very important question. See, we weren't told anything.
You weren't even asked, how did it go?
Hardly. There was a joke about a guy who was told that he should go to have a meeting. He came back and he said, nobody told me it would be a girl. So we were told nothing. We were supposed to know by osmosis or whatever. But there was something nice about that, the innocence, but it's not working. We can't rely on that anymore at all. We need to be articulate and we need to be informative, and they need to know what they're doing and why they're doing it, and so on and so on and so on. Right. Okay, in our circles, where the only reason for dating is to get married, and it should be the only reason. What you're telling people when they go out to meet a potential marriage, a potential spouse, you're going out to see if you enjoy the hour that you spend together. That's all. If you enjoyed the hour spending together, maybe you'd want to spend another hour together. Yes? Okay, so you go on a second meeting. After the third meeting, you can ask, what do you think? Big picture. But the first 3 times, it's just, would you spend another hour with each other? That's the only thing you can know, and that's the only thing you need to know. You don't come back from one meeting and say, okay, you want to marry him? That's not even supposed to happen. So the question of what am I supposed to feel? You're supposed to feel interested enough to spend another hour. And that's not difficult to know. You know if you want to spend another hour. It's not deep, dark, and mysterious. But here's the real problem. The real problem is that we call it dating. And it's not. Because what dating has become, and I don't know where that word came from. Who coined that?
Archaeologists.
Yeah, you date long dead bones. You don't date living people. But at any rate, whatever. The point is, dating has taken on a life of its own. It's not an introduction to anything. It doesn't have to lead to anything. Dating is a lifestyle. It's almost like a quasi-marriage. It's a form of marriage, but without the commitment, without the permanence. It has laws. Like if you cheat on your date, you're worse than an adulterer. Because cheating on your spouse is understandable somehow. But cheating on your date? Ooh. Punishment for that has got to be burnt at the stake. It's ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. This woman was crying to me. My boyfriend cheated on me. I said, no, your boyfriend cheated with you until yesterday. Now he's cheating with somebody else. What is the sanctimonious? We're dating, we're living together, we're sinning, but you can't commit any other sin. What are you, an animal? It's an artificial make-believe marriage. It does not lead to the real thing. We don't do that. It's not healthy. It's not nice. It destroys people. So we don't date. I heard this young man here in the community say, I was dating this girl, but it didn't work out, so we broke up. He broke up? Never heard that expression used in Crown Heights, ever. You broke up what? What broke? Your habit of seeing her? You saw her 6 times. Like, what broke? Where's this language coming from? It's not healthy. So let's call it meeting instead of dating, because that's more accurate. You're going to meet somebody. You're going to decide whether you want to spend another meeting, another hour, and eventually, is this for you? How long should that take? How long before you know that you want to marry this person? 10 years?
Years? How about 10 dates?
If you're meeting somebody for 10 years, you're never going to know if you want to marry them. Because a little bit you already feel married. So, why push it? You're practically married, so what's the hurry? But practically married is unmarried. It's neither here nor there. It's terrible. It's terrible. You can't fool Mother Nature. So you can't have a partial marriage, a virtual marriage, a quasi-marriage. That's so sad. How long should it take? For some people, 3 dates and you know. Yes or no? For some people, like you say, 10 dates, then they finally know yes or no. More than that doesn't seem to help. If after 10 meetings you still don't know, this isn't going anywhere. It's not like if you meet another 10 times, it'll get clearer, or it won't. So if it hasn't happened, then just forget about it.
But really, the question is, what is it? What is it hasn't happened?
Mm-hmm. Well, right now I'm saying it, meaning yes or no. It's not clear to you. Yes or no? Well, a little good, a little bad. I can't make up my mind. So without any particular order, let's talk about a few of the rules of getting married. Number 1, the purpose of meeting is not to find something so attractive about each other that you want to marry each other. It's true, when you meet, what are you doing? You're checking him out, or you're checking her out. Very selfish, as it should be. What are you checking? Well, you want to make sure that their physical presence is comfortable, their looks are good character, good etiquette, good sense of humor, intelligence, all these good things. Some things you're going to have to ask. What is your opinion? What is your belief? What is your feeling? And so on. So what happens? You get to know all the good things about the other person. Well, then you say, okay, all those good things, marry him. No. Wrong. Completely misguided. You're not going to find virtues and appealing things so that you can marry those things. You want to marry a person, not their qualities. You want to be married to a person, not to something about the person. So what's the point in dating or meeting? If you're going to marry the person and the qualities are not important, then you can get married over the telephone. You should be able to say to your daughter, I found him. You're marrying him.
That's what they used to do.
Yeah. And she should be able to say, okay. After all, I'm not marrying qualities. I'm marrying a person. He's a person. Fine. Why the meeting? And the meeting is necessary according to Torah, according to Jewish law, according to Jewish custom. You must meet before you marry. Why? What you're checking is not, are there qualities I would like to marry? No. Are there any features, personality traits, body language, or appearances that really make me uncomfortable? And if they make me uncomfortable, I can't move on to the person behind these features, which is what I want to get to if I'm marrying. If I'm marrying, I want to marry the person. So why are you worried about his looks? Why are you worried about his sense of humor? Why are you worried about his job? Because some of those things might really bother me and prevent me from connecting to him. This means that if anything bothers you about the person, you call it off. I can't tell you how many times people came and said, I can't make up my mind because he's a good person. She's so good. She's so right. Just one little thing bothers me and it's embarrassing. So what bothers you? She has this freckle. I know, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. Don't marry her. Because if you're going to marry her in spite of the fact that this freckle bothers you, then what do you have to meet her for in the first place? The whole point of meeting is to make sure she doesn't have a freckle that bothers you. And you say, but that's so silly. Well, you're silly. That's you. It's so immature. Yeah, right. Yes. It shouldn't bother me. It shouldn't. You want to take a couple of years and work on that? Right now it bothers you, so don't marry her. You don't need a good reason to not marry. You have one good reason for not marrying her. Wait. It's not like I'm obligated to marry her and I have to find a good excuse. If there's something that bothers me, don't go. On the other hand, You come home and you say, I want to marry this person. Actually, she has this really big scar right across her cheek, but it doesn't bother me. Oh, come on, don't marry somebody with a scar. So, no, it doesn't bother me. Then fine. Then you're perfect. So it's very subjective. And nobody, including parents, should ever argue with that. Oh, come on, that's silly. Marry him anyway. Don't do that. You'll pay for it. If something is disturbing, whether it should or shouldn't is a little too late now. You had all those years to develop your values and your priorities, but now it's whatever there is, that's who you are. So, all right, so you check it out. You really like his personality. You really like his sense of humor. You like his body language. You feel comfortable in his presence. Everything's great. Why would you marry him? In other words, if everything checks out, that means that you could marry him. But why are you marrying him? If he's really the nice guy you say he is, right? He's really intelligent, really good looking, well, anybody would want to marry him. Why you? And that's what's wrong in the secular society. In the secular society, you always look for the one person that everybody would want to marry. Captain of the football team. Yeah, well, everybody wants to marry him. So why should it be you?
Maybe everybody wants to marry him, but he's the only one who'll marry me.
He can marry anybody.
But he's the only one who'll marry me.
Well, if that's the case, you're pretty lucky. But you're really looking for a trophy, not a husband. Because the reason you want to marry him is for the same reason everybody else wants to marry him. Nothing personal. What is it about him that attracts you to him? That's a mysterious ingredient that we really need to appreciate and understand. The clincher can't be, he has all the items on my list. He checks off nicely. That's not a reason to marry.
So obviously you're not going to say something so mundane like, for the same reasons you agreed to go out with him in the first place.
In other words, no reason.
No, in other words, he wants to raise a Chassidish family. He wants to.
Yeah, you have common values.
Right. That's not reason to marry.
No. That means you could marry. You can't marry somebody who has different values. Okay, he doesn't have different values. Now what? Now I could marry him. But why? It's like a father saying to his daughter, I met a guy. He's completely healthy. Yeah, he's got all his limbs, all his fingers, all his toes. Marry him? Why should I marry him? Oh, he's complete. Like, so what? He's smart, he's capable, he's got a good job. You want to marry him? No. I should marry him just because he's normal? Oh, he's also a great singer. So what are we going to do? Sit and sing songs together? Why is that? It's not personal enough. There's got to be something personal that not everybody sees and not everybody feels, which is an indication that this is for you. But that he can sing? There is this thing called good chemistry, or in Hebrew, hamshachas halev. There's got to be something that draws you, not impresses you. that he's a mensch, that he's great, he's good, he's handsome. Well, yeah, that's impressive. It's not what attracts you. I don't know how many times you hear a girl say, went out with this guy, he's really good. He's really, really a nice guy. Not for me. But my best friend, I would recommend my best friend should marry him. Well, if he's that good, why not for you? Not for me. What does that mean? If not for you, why for your best friend? Because your best friend is not that smart, so you can. So, what is this good chemistry? Here's the secret. Good chemistry means a man is sitting with a woman, and for the first time in his life, being in the presence of a woman makes him feel like a man. Usually, when he's in the presence of a woman, he becomes self-conscious about being a man. He's trying to make a good impression. He wonders what she thinks of him. How did that come across? How did this come across? Am I being... There's a certain tension. There's a certain competition of some sort. Rarely you sit with a woman and you really feel like a man. And that's coming from her. You don't need to prove anything. You don't feel like you're on trial. A few minutes of silence doesn't bother you. Now that can mean it can mean one of two things. It can mean, wow, I'm marrying her, or I'm not marrying her. So who cares? If it's not the latter, then it's the former. But it's not you. She is doing that to you. See, that's called good chemistry. When something feminine about her triggers the masculine in you, that is good chemistry. And that doesn't happen every time with the captain of a football team.
This may be the bottom line of the question. How does a young man fresh out of yeshiva know the difference between feeling like a man or just enjoying being with the first woman that came his way?
Well, we like to believe that a yeshiva education makes you intelligent, not just firm. You know yourself better than most people your age. You know what.
But is it intelligence? You're talking about chemistry.
No, but you know whether you're just excited about any girl because it's a girl, or you got over that after the second date. Yeah, the first date, you never know. I've never done this before. Well, I hope not. And people say, I don't know how to get married. I've never done that before. Yeah, I hope you've never been married before. So that is chemistry. What does that feel like? What does it mean to feel like a man? And what does it mean to feel like a woman? So a woman sitting with a man, and suddenly she feels very comfortable being a woman. Not self-conscious about it, comfortable. That's good chemistry, because he's doing that to her. But what is that, right? This is why we need to know what is male and what is female. We live in a very confused time. What is a healthy male? A healthy male instinct. A healthy male instinct is, I find a woman's need irresistible. And I want to take care of her. That's called being a giver. The best example for that is a teacher, a real teacher. A real teacher is someone who is inspired by the student's hunger for knowledge or need for information. The teacher who doesn't feel the student's hunger is not a teacher, he's just a guy with a job. He's not a giver, he's a user. He uses the class to make a living or to hear himself speak. A real giver is someone who finds the need irresistible. So the Torah says that a woman, after the eating of the tree of knowledge, that a woman yearns for her husband. That yearning makes a man into a man if he has that sensitivity. So a man who feels like a man when sitting with a woman, he feels like, I would take care of this woman for the rest of my life. He never felt like that with anybody else. With everybody else, he felt like, so is she impressed with me? Am I impressed with her? You know, it's not bringing out the male in. Even a guy comes back, I love talking to her. It's so exciting, so interesting. She knows so much. Okay, then join a debate club or something, but don't marry her. Because that is neither male nor female. It's neutral. So what does it mean? She makes me feel like a man. I want to take care of her. I want to take full responsibility for the success of her life. But if a man comes and says, I went out with this woman, she's so amazing, I'm blown away. I would follow her anywhere. Whoa, don't tell her that. She'll run away. She doesn't want you to follow her. She doesn't want a puppy. She wants a husband. That is not a masculine response. On the other hand, if a woman is sitting with a man and she's thinking, I'd do anything for him. I would support him in anything he wants. I'd follow him to the end of the world. I can rely on this guy. She feels very feminine and comfortable with it. But a woman who calls up and says, I went out with this guy, he's so sweet. He's so sweet. He's so gentle. He's so thoughtful. Adopt him. Take out a license and that's not a feminine response. That's a motherly response. You want to mother him. No, that's not going to make him into a husband. So that's the good chemistry. And that's what you really should be looking for. Primary, the main decisive consideration. Is there that male-female chemistry? If it's not there, you're taking a big risk. And we're talking to a young woman. She had been meeting this guy on and off for years. It was going on 3 years. They are meeting, they're not meeting, they're thinking, they're not thinking, they call it off, they go back, She can't make up her mind. And she's torturing him. So finally I sat down to talk to her. And she says, like after everything was very clear in her mind by now. So she says very succinctly, he is 99% of everything I want. There's just 1% and I can't get over it. That's why I can't decide. I don't want to lose him, but I can't marry him. I said, what is that 1%? She says, it's embarrassing. I said, you want help, you got to tell me. She says, he doesn't feel so masculine. I said, that's 1%. That's the 99%. Call it off. All that torture for nothing. That's 99%. The rest is commentary. But who tells you this? How was she supposed to know this? She was an innocent Rivka girl. So, yeah, we got to talk about it.
So now I'm wondering, how involved should parents be? On the one hand, parents seem to think like, as soon as you come home at 12:30, I need to have a blow-by-blow account of what happened. And
play-by-play.
Yeah. On the other hand, parents cannot not be involved because we have to talk to them.
Parents should have a minimal involvement once they start meeting. Before the meetings, check out everything you can, find out as much as you can, do all the research you need to do, and so on. After that, it's chemistry now. Your opinion doesn't count. So if they say, yes, we want to get married, don't try to discourage them or dissuade them because you don't like the idea. That's, again, playing with fire. Don't push it. If your daughter or son have hesitations, don't push it because you like the idea. Playing with fire. So what should you do when your child comes back from a meeting? How was it? Want to go again? Because you got to call the Shadchan and let her know. Which is the other thing. Always, always have a Shadchan. People think it's sophisticated to skip the Shadchan and talk to each other directly. It's not sophisticated. It's reckless. It's cruel. And it's harmful. The system, the way it's been arranged for all these years with a Shadchan, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. The point of a Shadchan is not to tell you whether you should get married or not. The Shadchan doesn't make the decision. The Shadchan runs interference. We're talking about good people, young people, idealistic people, sensitive people. So a girl goes out with the guy, has a meeting, and she's not too interested. At the end of the meeting, he says, so can we get together again on Tuesday? What should she say? Yeah, if you're jaded, you say, no, I don't think so. Not my type. And it's over. But if you're not jaded, you can't say that. It's too... So against your better judgment, okay, fine. But somehow I got to get the message to him that I don't want to meet him anymore. So you go out a second time. He likes you. So after the second meeting, he says, can we get together again on Friday? What are you going to say? He's so excited. Eventually, you find yourself trapped. You went out so many times, and you felt so guilty about it because you have no intentions of marrying this guy. And then after the sixth time, you say, okay, no. He said, what happened? 6 times was good, all of a sudden, no? So what are you going to do? You're going to tell him, there are things about you that really turn me off. Now you've killed him. This is so cruel. Now you feel bad. He is devastated. He may never go out again. That's where the Shadchan comes in. You never give a stranger your phone number. So if he wants to go out again, he's got to call the Shadchan. You've called the Shadchan and you told the Shadchan that you're not interested. The Shadchan will convey the message and it's over. And he can't ask the Shadchan, how come? How is she supposed to know? So nobody gets her. It's such a humane, makes me think of Shchita. It's such a humane way of doing it. And then at the end, let's say everything's going fine. He decides to propose. So he does the whole thing and he proposes. And she says, no, I'm not ready for this. What is he supposed to do now? Beg? Or the opposite. She decides she wants to marry him. He hasn't proposed. And she's waiting, right? So eventually she says, I'm ready. Now what is he supposed to do? Propose? She already said yes. Took the whole thunder out of it. It's like, wasn't I supposed to propose to you? It's bad news without a Shadchan. So even people getting married a second time, middle-aged people who should be able to talk to each other directly, no, use a Shadchan. Always.
Besides being the go-between, how involved should the Shadchan be? Because very often they'll call the Shadchan and the parents say, okay, it was wonderful, go again. Or sometimes the parents say, call the Shadchan, see what the Shadchan thinks.
It's possible that somebody says to the Shadchan, he didn't talk much, so I don't like it. Shadchan call the guy and say, can you be a little more articulate? And then convince her to try it again. That happens. I mean, it can go a little too far also, where the Shadchan tells you how to behave. Like, put on this show, make believe you're like this, make believe. That's terrible. Like, be funny. She likes funny. I'm not funny. So what, you're going to trick her into marrying you? But, to some degree, a little coaching doesn't hurt. Because, the guy really doesn't know, am I allowed to talk? So, the Shadchan can be helpful in that way, too.
According to everything you've just said, is there such a thing as saying to somebody, you're too picky?
Not really.
Not really.
Because if you are too picky, then that's what you are. So don't be picky. Okay, I'll marry the next guy I meet. That's ridiculous. The picky personality is going to have to get married being picky. You got to be realistic. You're not the most beautiful woman in the world, so you got to settle for a short, fat, bald guy. You know what I mean? No.
Is there an age where you say to them that very thing?
No.
You're not 23 anymore. Now it's
sometimes it's ridiculous. I remember Shimshon Stock, a very special guy in Crown Heights, and he was a Shadchan for many, many couples. He was very, very. Anyway, he's talking to this guy. He's middle-aged. He's bald. He's short. Doesn't make a good living. And he says to him, "So, what are you looking for?" He says, "I would like a good-looking girl about 25, 26." Shimshon lost it. He grabs him by the back of his collar, says, "Stand up," and schleps him over to a full-length mirror. He said, "Look in the mirror. Tell me again. What do you?" Sometimes it's just like ridiculous. What are you doing? You're 46 and you want to marry a 25-year-old? So sometimes you got to sober a person up, But if a person is really particular, don't push it. Always regret it. Always regret it. You never hear a person say, I didn't really want to marry. I just thought I had to. I thought I ought to. Everybody expected me to. That's terrible. Always comes back to haunt you. So always use a Shadchan. Now I hear that the Shadchans themselves, after the first meeting, say, "Okay, you don't need me anymore. Here's his number. Call him." Well, you don't get paid for that. You haven't earned your keep. That's not.
Is there ever a time that's appropriate?
No.
Take number 6, number 7, number 8.
No. First of all, just a sense of decency. Would a girl give her phone number or email address to a stranger? Why is this guy not a stranger? Because you met him twice? And that's another thing. How much do you reveal about yourself when you're meeting? You don't tell him anything you wouldn't tell a stranger on the bus. He's a stranger. Tomorrow he may disappear from your life. Why are you telling him what your mother doesn't even know? See, again, it's treating it like it's a semi-marriage. Like, I have to tell him. I mean, after all, what? After all, he might walk out tomorrow. So what are you telling him? When it gets serious, when it's starting to look like this is going to be something, then there are things you need to reveal. Not everything. To reveal everything would be inconsiderate. Don't dump on him or her.
And not yet the phone number.
Huh?
And not yet your phone number.
No. Always leave it neutral, innocent. Nobody gets hurt until you're engaged.
So if I've heard it once, I've heard it many times. You've dated 3, 4, 5 times now. Now it's time to let yourself be vulnerable. Is this too personal, too intimate?
Be vulnerable?
I don't even know what that means, but you're going to get engaged to this guy.
First get engaged, then think about vulnerable.
But there's got to be a balance here. How do you decide if you haven't really met the real person?
Whatever it is you know about each other is sufficient to make you want to marry each other, okay, then you can be vulnerable. But not like a married couple. You don't start to suffer for each other because you're not married. The suffering begins after you're married, not before. You get yourself trapped. You start to be a little vulnerable. Vulnerable means emotionally hooked. And then they decide, no, I'm not going to get married. No. So you leave with a chunk of your heart missing. You do that 2 or 3 times, you got very little left in your heart. It's not good.
So let's go back to the list of, sorry, what were you going to say?
What must you tell and what should you not tell? The rule of thumb is this. Being considerate is more important than being honest. Got to repeat that 1,000 times. Being considerate is more important than being honest. Because sometimes being honest can be very selfish. I don't want to have secrets. I want to get this off my chest. And I want everybody to know that I am. Be a little more considerate. Is it useful and helpful for him to know this about you? Even after you're married, what are you doing? You want to get something off your chest? Go for therapy. Tell your therapist. Don't dump it on your husband unless it's good for him to know. See, that's called considerate. But to be honest, just for the sake of honesty, that's not nice. Your honesty can hurt him or her. So before you say something, be considerate. The best example is that Zadie had a store on Kingston Avenue, a fish store.
Before or after the toy store?
Before. It only lasted a year. But many years after the store was closed, he told us that he had been threatened one evening. Guy came into the store with a gun and wanted the money from the cash register. My father scared him off. Can you believe that? He bluffed his way through that. The guy got scared and ran away. Never mentioned it until years after the store was closed. Why? Because if he had told my mother, then every night when he was in the store, she would sit and worry. Not considerate. Don't you want to tell your wife you almost robbed, you almost killed, you almost shot? Yeah, you want to, but be considerate. What will it do for her, to her? You're going to add concern, worry, anxiety to her life? What, that's a good husband? So really, considerate is more important than honest. Now, using that guideline, you proceed with what you want to say or not say.
So besides the fact that you're turning the modern view of marriage on its head, because the modern view is honesty above all else, and there's no secrets, but we're talking about dating. what you're suggesting means that I wind up proposing and marrying somebody that I never really met because she was so considerate. She didn't tell me anything.
But there are things that out of consideration you should tell. Like, I'm bipolar. Hello. Oh, you forgot to mention that? Yeah, you thought it wouldn't make a difference to me? It makes a big difference to me.
Okay, so considerate means honesty, honest things about me that are relevant to you.
Yeah, since you need to know, I will tell you even if I don't want to. That's called considerate. And when you really don't need to worry about this, but I want to be honest, not nice. I know this gives license to kind of fudge the truth, but it's a judgment call. You need good judgment. I remember this couple in Minnesota. They were having a hard time because this doesn't really apply to our community, but he said to her, after they were married for 3 years, he said to her, who are some of the boyfriends you had before we met? She said, we don't go there. He said, oh, come on, grow up. I had girlfriends, you had boyfriends, come on. I'm just curious. She said, no. He pestered her. He kept on. Just tell me, I know you had boyfriends. I just want to know who. Finally, he said to her, just give me a first name. Don't even tell me a family name. She said, as soon as I said it, I regretted it. She said, okay, fine. Billy. That's it. Their marriage fell apart. Every time she had any criticism of him, anytime she was upset, he would say, oh, so you should have married Billy. So go back to Billy. Putting a name on it, he couldn't handle it. Billy became his competition. He knew there were guys, and that was okay. Put a name on it, he can't handle it. They got divorced. So it was very inconsiderate of him to ask. And it was a moment of weakness that she answered.
So in a few minutes that we have left, I want to go back to, you said, you don't be judgmental to your children. You don't tell them to get over it or grow up. But they do grow up. And what if somebody is older, either, I don't know, having been married, having not been married yet? I don't even know what older means, 35, 40, 45. Are there certain things on your list of what I want that either tend to drop off or should drop off as you get older? Besides age, obviously.
Yes. That's natural. What's important to a 20-year-old is not important to a 30-year-old. That's just natural.
Should I be more open to marrying somebody who's not a Lubavitcher, or marrying somebody who was previously married? Or
it's not what you should. It happens naturally. If nothing changes between 20 and 30, you're not maturing. You're stuck. There should be some changes, just naturally, not because they ought to be, but because time.
So nobody's telling you to do this.
Nobody should tell you. except your therapist. Therapists can say anything they want. There's another thing. When a woman gets married, she has to want to be a wife. And when a man gets married, he has to want to be a husband. If they both want to remain a man and a woman, it's not going to be a marriage. Because a man and a woman should never marry each other. You know, it's Mars and Venus, and it's no good. A husband and wife make a marriage. A man and a woman, disaster. So if he doesn't become a husband, or she doesn't become a wife, and it's become very common, almost popular. She remains a woman, he remains a man. Being a wife is so pathetic. And being a husband is such a wimp. So he stays a man, she stays a woman, and of course they get divorced. In a traditional mentality, children can't wait to become mommies and daddies. They can't wait to become husbands and wives. In a secular society, nobody wants to be a mommy, nobody wants to be a daddy, and certainly they don't want to be a wife or a husband. Because wives and husbands are the butt of all the jokes, the biggest losers. So there's no glamour in being a wife. And there's no glamour in being a husband. And yet, if that's not what you want, then don't get married. Here's the big shocker. Do not marry for love. Love is not a foundation for a marriage, but everybody thinks it is. Since Tevye's daughters, that's when the problems began, in Anatevka. When Tevye's daughters decided to marry for love, it was the beginning of the end. Tevye was right. Love is overrated, way overrated, dangerously. Love will keep us together. All we really need is love. Makes a good movie, but a movie only lasts an hour. You want your marriage to last for more than an hour, then don't do that. You don't marry for love.
I've heard you compare it to marrying for money, right? You marry for something, that's a problem. But let me ask you this.
And if you're going to marry for something, make it money.
Yeah, this way at least you get half.
Right.
But let me ask you this. There was a young man who was ready to propose. This is theoretical. I'm not saying I know who this was. He was going to go on shlichus. She agreed that she wanted to go on shlichus, but her parents, who are from a well-to-do family, warned her that she was marrying a pauper.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something to wealth marrying wealth, yichus marrying yichus?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the parents responsibly should say to their daughter, you know, you're used to living a life of luxury. With him, you're not going to have. Consider it. It could be a very difficult adjustment. That's reasonable. But that's before they go out. Not once they're in love. Too late. Now you got to stay out of it. You got to hope for the best, or you'll end up supporting them for the rest of your life. Look, a parent's advice is always good, but it's advice, not ultimatums. Children should always consider their parents' advice because it's usually good, but it's not an ultimatum.
That's with wealth. How important is yichus or family background?
Anything. Parents should give their best advice and hope the children will follow it. But if they don't, stay out of it.
That's how to give advice to children and to parents in one sentence.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was an incident in Minnesota where parents were against a marriage, and they wrote to the Rebbe, "We don't want our children marrying each other. So we're going to whatever, refuse to make the wedding, or whatever." The Rebbe said, "Chas v'shalom." It's pretty strong language. Chas v'shalom. So what's with this love business? I love you. I love you. Oh, so let's get married. What in the world has marriage got to do with love? Outside of Hollywood. Don't get married unless you want to be a wife. The fact that you love this guy, so love him. What are you marrying him for? Oh, but love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Okay, don't be a horse and don't be a carriage. And don't marry for love. Unless it's love of marriage. Look, anything you do, certainly something as serious as marriage, you have to love it to justify doing it. But you love her, so you get married? You don't even like being married. What are you doing? So in the first date or second date or meeting, you like me? That's not even a good question. Do you like marriage? Do you believe in marriage? You think marriage is a wonderful idea? Because if not, I'm not marrying you. I don't care how much you love me. So this young couple, kind of hippie, they came in Minnesota. Say, we're very much in love and we want to get married. Would you do the wedding for us? I said, you're in love? I said, yeah. I said, too late. You're marrying for love and you're already in love. So what do you need the marriage for? You're going to love each other more if you're married? No. So too late. If you were looking for love and marriage would bring you the love, okay, but you already have the love. So that's it, too late. Now, if you get married, it'll only get worse.
So how does this apply to the Shadchan world today? You're talking to a young couple who are meeting. That you're suggesting that they're waiting until they're in love, or they're looking to be in love.
That's right. If you're looking to be in love, then forget marriage. Find somebody to love. You have to marry him for it. See, there's a gap there. We love each other, and therefore we should get married. It's like, I love you. Oh, I love you. Okay, then we'll live in Cleveland. What? It's as strange as that. Nothing against Cleveland. So the real question is, What do you think of marriage? Every 9-year-old girl wants to be married. She hates boys, but she wants to be married. That's healthy. Then all of a sudden she gets to be a teenager and she switches it, flips it. I'll marry you if I love you, otherwise no. And if I love you, I have to marry you. You tell a teenage girl, you're going to marry this guy? He killed every girlfriend he ever had. You don't understand him. I have to marry him. I love him. He'll kill you. Well, that's the price you pay.
Sometimes love hurts.
Yes. You always hurt the one you love, so okay. No, it's crazy. Love has become a substitute for God. For love, we will kill. For love, we will die. If there's a problem, the solution is always love. More love, bigger love, the love. If you love more, your kid is unhappy. Oh, you don't love him. I do love him. Well, love him more. I love him a lot. Not enough. It's disturbed. It really is. It's so unhealthy. The way it works is like this. Love is not important. That's the big lie, the fake news. Love is not important. You love him, so it's good. So what? Oh, well, if you love somebody, you got to devote your entire life to. No, I love chocolate. So you love it. So what? Love is not important. You're supposed to love those who are important. But it's not the love that makes them important. That is so Hollywood artificial nonsense. If I love you, you're the most important person in the world. But I don't love you, so get lost. When I loved you, you were the most important person in the world. But I don't love you anymore, so now you're garbage and you're annoying me and get out of my way. How arrogant is that? My love makes you important. You're playing God. What is wrong with you? You're supposed to love those who are important. But isn't it a big mitzvah to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might? Yes. So, see how important love is? I think you're missing something. It doesn't prove how important love is. It proves how important God is. And he'll be important even if you don't love him. Aren't you supposed to love your fellow Jew? Uh-huh. What does that tell you? That your fellow Jew is important, even if you don't love him. And the boyfriend you have who you love is still not important, no matter how much you love him. It becomes dangerous. The average kid in America, if his brother was drowning and his dog was drowning, he would save his dog. Why? I love my dog. It's disturbed. It's cuckoo. It's Hollywood.
You got to go, and I have to talk to my marriage-age children. So
give them a piece of your mind.
That's right. This was amazing. Thank you to It's Good to Know for letting me do this. And again, thank you to the Inner Circle for making it happen. All right. I want to thank Utah for making it possible and my children for making it necessary. And we'll do it again, Emir Hashem.
You should have a lot of nachas from all your kids.
Amen.
Because I already do, but that's easy.
That's what counts.
And I should have only good news.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. These ideas, these messages, this approach to life, this approach to Torah, to meaning, and to morals is vital for the world today. And we need to get this message out to the entire world. It is universal, it's essential, it's indispensable. To support this effort, if you want to be a partner in this crime, check out the link and make a donation. It really helps a lot. And thank you in advance.